Hey y'all. So, on Saturday, I went to the Barnes & Noble release party of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Sorry, the camera's really close today. There you go, cover. Not that you didn't know what it was. Anyway, so I went to the release party, which was a lot of fun. And then I just now finished the book, literally just now. Like, I read the end and closed the book and got my computer to make this video. And my feelings on it are so conflicted. So I'm going to try really hard not to give away any spoilers in this book review, especially because it's so recent. But if you know me personally, I would really love to talk about this book once you finish. So let's chat. Anyway, obviously, we all know that it's the script for a play. So we lose all of J.K. Rowling's, I'm going to call her Jo, we lose all of Jo's amazing ability in writing. Sometimes I say word bender. That's a reference to Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it works. She bends and creates these amazing things with the words, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful author. She's incredibly talented, and so we lose all of that. So it didn't feel like the real thing with me in that way. Furthermore, I have always struggled with reading a script rather than a novel or short story or memoir or whatever. I kind of get impatient and I don't always pay attention to who's speaking. And in a few scenes, I had to go back a couple times and be like, oh, sorry, who said that? And that's obviously a flaw on my part. Kind of slow down, read it more clearly, things like that. So that was hard for me too. But also, there were some irregularities, I don't really know the term I want right here, with her original story. And we know that other people were involved, John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. I wanted to make sure I got Jack's last name right. But it picks up where the epilogue in book 7 leaves off. And even just right there, I didn't really feel like it clicked so well. And again, I'm not going to spoil things, but obviously we know that in this book there has to be conflict and emotions and whatever, but in the epilogue things are very much resolved because that's the way it's supposed to be. It's an epilogue, it's wrapping things up. And some people with the epilogue were like, oh, well, now it's just happily ever after. And I was thinking, no, that's not true, because they still have to move on with their lives. They're going to deal with like real life problems rather than Voldemort. That's what I was thinking back at the end of book 7. But in this one, the epilogue is just so happy, and this one made it a not so great thing, and that makes sense because the epilogue is the end of book 7, but it's the kickstart to this, and so of course there has to be tension. But I just didn't love that. There was that disconnect, and then it like was tearing them apart, and I don't know, so that bothered me. And then there were a few things that Harry said as a parent, and again, no spoilers. Feel free to comment later if you've read it, and I will tell you specifically. And I was just like, that's not Harry. And obviously I don't know him as a parent because all we saw was the epilogue previously, but it just I didn't feel like it fit. But sorry, I just got really close to the camera. But there were a few times where I was like, I love this. Every so often there was a moment that was so true to the original series. When Hagrid made an appearance, I got slightly emotional because it was so great to see him back, and he seemed very true to his original character. A lot of the plot revolves around time turners. That's all I'm going to say. Again, the spoiler thing. Didn't love that. I felt like in some ways it was a cheap storyline for Harry Potter because, I'm sorry, we've got Doctor Who and we've got all these other movies and all these other time travel stories out there, and I didn't feel like that's what it needed to be. And even in Harry Potter, we've already done that with book 3. They already used time to rescue Sirius Black and Buckbeak, and it didn't fit. And there were a couple of things also with their dialogue about the time turners in this one that didn't quite line up with the series as well. People who aren't as familiar probably wouldn't really pick up on that. Honestly, though, I don't know. I'm still just so conflicted, but I wanted to make this video because some people have already been asking me what I thought about it. In a couple of days after I've talked to some of you guys and thought more about it, maybe I'll make another video And at some point I want to be able to talk about it without worrying about spoilers. So I probably will actually do another video. Something I think would be amazing, though, is to see this on stage. Obviously, that's how plays are supposed to be. I would love to see it on stage. I think it would be fascinating. I would love to see how they do the sets and how they do the magic. Like Wingardium Leviosa, well, obviously things can be on ropes and wires and whatever, but some of the other spells I'd really like to see. I think that would be amazing. And something that I do want to mention, there were a couple of funny moments. And again, things are funnier as a script is funnier when you see it on stage. Example, Shakespeare. You don't really think it's funny as you're reading it, but when actors can give inflections and faces and stuff, there are funny moments, right? So even within the script, though, there were a couple of times where I was like, that was kind of funny, you know? And Ron is true to his comic relief type of character. I liked that. Also, in the way it was written, it is a script, so it was written the way people speak, which I thought was fascinating. I don't read scripts that often, again, because I don't read them well and I don't enjoy it, but that was neat. There were clear moments where the actor is supposed to pause, or where they start a thought, pause, and then reroute it, which I even do in these reviews all the time. People do that all the time, and I thought that was neat. See, I just did it. I thought that was neat because it was easy to like hear them speaking in my head. Not that it's not easy when I read novels, but that was just something I thought was really cool, was that it was truly written the way it should be spoken. And there were some cues that were helpful, but I would love to see what the actors do with it. I think that would be so amazing. Clearly I'm not going to London anytime soon, but it did premiere on the 30th. Woohoo! But I would love to see it on stage and actually experience the whole thing. I think that you should read it. If you love Harry Potter, you should read it. But I'd really just like to discuss it with people, I think. I don't know if I liked it, but I also don't know if I disliked it. I know that I've said a lot of the negative aspects in this review, but I don't know. It's really tough because Harry Potter, the series, was such a huge part of my entire life. I've been reading them since I think I was in 2nd grade is when I started, and I've reread them to the point where I have lost count. I know that I read the first 3 over 20 times, and the rest of them, the newer ones, 4 and on, I don't know how many times I've read those, but I would reread before the new one always came out, and we were right there getting them at midnight. I lost my train of thought. So it wasn't the same. It wasn't the magic of the series, but at the same time, it's only this big, guys. Hold on, let me check how many pages. I was paying attention to that a little bit as I read. Only 308, and I'm sorry, her thicker books are almost at like 1,000. So that was something else. It felt rushed to me, and I understand this is a play. You can't be sitting watching a stage thing for 7 hours, even though we would love to do that. So it did feel rushed in that way. I felt like some of the characters' discussions and decisions they were making were very hastily made. And a few times in a couple of the scenes, I was a little bit confused with what was going on. And there's one point where I'm not sure where a wand went, because 2 of the characters lost their wands, and then suddenly someone was shooting a spell, and I was very confused, and I looked back and I couldn't quite figure out how they got a hold of a wand again. Hopefully on stage they have fixed that. I'm sure they have. Again, this is supposed to be a stage thing, not necessarily read as a book. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I bought it. It was, again, I don't know. I don't know what I truly think. I'm not going to say it was good. I'm not going to say it was bad, but I do think that if you love Harry Potter and if you read the books and if you love the books, you should read this. I do strongly suggest that. Because, I don't know, it was just really nice to be back in that world. Even though there were parts I didn't love, and even though it felt rushed, it was it was fun to be back with the magic. And there's some new spells introduced. That was kind of cool because there's still very good wordplay with the spells, just like Jo does in the original series. I shouldn't call it the original series. In the series. She does some great wordplay with those spells. I'm sure you're all aware of that. And it kept up in this, which was neat to see. And of course, there's the classics, Expelliarmus. Yeah. Also, well, no, because I'm not going to spoil anything. So I am not going to say anything else now. Once I've talked to some other people who have read it, and once I have processed my thoughts a little bit more, I'll probably make another video that will have spoiler alerts. I will put that in the title, though. I don't even know who watches these, but if you're watching, thank you for watching, and I hope that you are able to get your hands on a copy of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and read it, and let me know what you think. Please comment. I'd love to start a discussion about it, and I think it would be fascinating to see what everyone in the Potter world fandom thinks. So keep reading. Let me know. Bye!